far.
Wait, all 13 pages?
If you quick readers, you finish within 5 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, thân thiền. You got my article, say thân thiện.
Yeah, I just got back.
Okay, just go back to your email and check. Open your email. I have an article I sent to you. Read that.
I did not read it yet, but I will.
Yeah, Buddhism and cross national happiness. Phillips, you done?
Yes.
Yeah, done.
Wow, how was that?
I think it's a good article and summary of a lot of the core teachings.
Mhm. Okay, but you got the idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. You used to read these academic articles for your writing, for your.
Oh, yeah. Articles. Yeah, sometimes. Yeah. It's
Mm.
nice to read them sometimes.
Mm. You need to write any articles to any journal, to submit to any journal or pharmacy.
No, not right now. I think I used to when I was like a fellow and when I was a student, but yeah, not anymore right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I thought that you still working. If
Yeah.
you, is they so they don't require you to write articles for the journal, huh?
Yeah, not anymore. I think when I was more like a student or fellow, I did more of that.
Okay. Mm. Yeah, we can wait for others. It's easy to read.
It's not bad compared to what I had to read before.
Hmm?
This is great compared to what I used to have to read.
Understandable. They put in simple terms, right? Not much, unless there's some technical term. That's all, right? It's understandable.
Oh yeah.
Mm.
Mainly talk so.
So William, you done? You understand?
Not yet, but yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, very simply written and easy to understand.
Yeah. So that way, William, how you think? You
Yes, I've read it.
how do you think about that?
I think it's easy to understand. I think it's a very, very ambitious program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm. Mm. That's strange term for you, right, Dr. Williams? It's the first time you ever heard gross national happiness.
Yes, yes, this is first
Instead
for me.
of GNP or GPD.
GDP, gross domestic product, GDP.
Mhm. Mm. Mm. Okay. Vivian, you done, Vivian? Khóa? You done the reading?
I am nowhere close. I am on page 4.
That's okay. So I think this type of article is very interesting. So I will pick up some something like this and send you to read first. And I think it's more interesting. Hmm. Okay. Hmm. Phillips, if you don't mind, could you summarize in general what the whole idea is about, if you don't mind, Phillips?
Oh, sure. So they're saying that for every citizen of Bhutan to, have the gross national happiness, we have to consider some of the Buddhist teachings and Buddhist philosophy in it to help them realize like what true happiness is and kind of changing the mindset. So there's a few things in the article. I think it goes through um, like, is it possible to teach people to be truly happy? Why aren't they happy? And then what is true happiness? And some of the obstacles they talked about was war and famine, and then also inner happiness or inner obstacles like illness, disease, and fear, and also just the mental of like desires, angers, and ignorance. So it does kind of go pretty deep into the things that could be stopping it, and then in order to get through those obstacles, you can apply some of the Buddhist teachings, and that will help you understand what true happiness is. And that's connected to enlightenment and just being a kind person, not harming anyone, anything, the environment. So it's pretty ambitious. It goes from like the inner person level to the society level. So, and all those contribute to gross national happiness. So I think it takes a holistic approach to how to be happy, and then how to also be happy as in your inner world, inner person.
Is that possible or it's ambitious?
I think it's possible.
Mhm. What do you think about this article? Is there a lot information for you to digest or what?
No, it's actually a really good summary of the heart of what Buddhism is.
Mm-hmm.
It's about detecting our true nature by realizing our attachments, and the way out of that in many ways is through compassion for others.
You got that? Too much for you.
I mean, I understand what it's talking about.
So
Sure.
what do you think? What is that?
I think it's highly ambitious, especially if you want to start with the top going down, like because they're the most corrupt people, the government and the politics. So, sure, if you could get their feet in, it would work out well. But that's asking a lot, I think. Here, anyways, I don't know. This place might be different. Where is this? Where's that?
In Bhutan, you don't know?
No,
North of India.
north of India. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a small country, the Buddhist country.
Okay, so maybe it'd be possible there then, but here in the U.S.,
It's possible,
no way.
but yeah, it's possible over there, but not here, right? So, how about William? What do you think? What do you think about this article?
Yeah, it's a dream to have a society like that where everyone is taught about compassion and caring for others, not harming others. It's great that they have that the monarch, the person who's in power, has that sort of mind state. I think it's like I want to go visit there. That seems like a cool place to go see. People seem like they'd be very nice, and it would be fun to spend time there.
Yeah. Well, that way, William, what do you think?
I love Phyllis's optimism. I think it's impossible, but I also think that it's something that should be done. I think that working on the process of instituting these kinds of things is a worthy goal. I don't think that in the U.S. That we could ever reach that, but I think it would do us well to try to reach that.
Yeah, let's us review. I highlight some information over there. Let's review and you can give the feedback too. So I come to the authors. Okay, let's see here. And that's he proposed gross national happiness. Let's see here. Instead of call here.
GDP, gross domestic.
Yeah,
product.
right here. This one here. Right, GDP, right? Gross domestic product, and GNP, gross national product, and GNI, gross national income. So all these focus on economies, on the money, not much with the mind.
It's funny because every time I saw this GNP, I had to laugh because I'm so used to GDP on everything I ever studied. It was GDP, so it's just hilarious.
Yeah, so that's why they propose this kind of information for many years. So in this article, so the authors mentioned there's two types of happiness: ultimate happiness and relative happiness. Ultimate happiness is if you attain what they call emptiness and compassion. That's Buddhist idea. Emptiness doesn't mean there's nothingness, but recognize things are interdependent. And that's why we have to be compassionate to everyone that's surrounding us. If we want to be happy, we need to help other people to be happy too. If we want to be happy, we just want not to harm others. So that's what emptiness and compassion come. And plus, on the top that, later on, it talk about the state of mind. If we have peace, peaceful state of mind, that's the real happiness too. And relative happiness is considered physical and mental. And we know, remember, we talked about Maslow, right? Maslow, Maslow hierarchy of needs, right? And the bottom, right? The bottom, we have the physical need, right? Of the water, food, air, and so forth, it grow up there. So that he's talked about that one. So once the basic needs are fulfilled, move to the next one, the middle state of mind. So we need to recognize everyone want to be happy. No one want to be suffer. But we need to have the kind of balance. That's what this is talk about here. And it's the talk about GNP, gross national product. If you fall short because they get focused on the material life, not much with the mental state of mind. That's why somehow we have, especially young people, right? They stress out so much, especially during this pandemic. Uh, and they maybe people they fall in the state of depression and so forth. Many of my students they have the kind of problems. They don't know how to deal with their mind. So, Phillips, what do you think about the GNP and GDP? What do you think, Phillips?
I think in this society, it's definitely very capitalistic, and a lot of people's worth, the first thing you ask someone is like, oh, what do you do? And then you kind of think like, oh, it's like a fancy job, or I don't know, something like that. It's just how it's structured. But then you realize you get attached to status and money, and then it's maybe not as important or permanent as I might imagine. So it is better to zoom out a little bit and see it more holistically of how to be happy rather than I can only be happy if I get X money, X job, etc. So it's definitely hard because I have to feel like I need to unlearn some of the things that I've been taught since I was very, very young. So it takes time, I think, to apply some of the Buddhist teachings in my everyday life and realize it's not as important for like your economic value in society rather than just your intrinsic Buddha nature value in society.
Yeah, I have some students. They lost their jobs. They lost their internship. Everything's turned upside down because of this pandemic. That was William. You encountered type of student, right, in your class, right?
Oh, certainly. It's been a very, very hard time for a lot of the students, and I've taught the classes remotely, but you can tell from the kinds of emails and messages that you get that a lot of these young people are really stressed. That their livelihood is very frail. They're afraid. They are isolated and lonely, and so it's like so many of the worst possible things bearing in on them from the outside. That one of the things I liked about this article was how it refocused my thoughts on inner happiness, which is easier for me to say because I'm not a poor undergraduate student who has lost a waiting job or has lost or is all alone in a house or a number of these difficulties that they encounter. It's easier for me to say. So I'm encouraged and at the same time troubled by this article.
How you think it's trouble? Is that not easy to achieve or what?
I think that the kind of happiness that it encourages is available to all people, but it's more available to people who are physically comfortable to begin with.
Okay.
And maybe that's an American perspective. I would acknowledge that it's very likely, Phyllis is talking about the capitalist element that underlies everything that we do in our culture. And maybe that's speaking in me. rather than a perspective that could give me more insight on this.
Yeah, thank you. How about William? What do you think? The author, he said that they start with spiritual needs, and but in the West, right, we need to have the physical needs. This is more reasonable, right? More logical, right? So, what do you think about this kind of model? Is it just average? Is it too optimistic? Or what do you think?
I think we can see from examples of like well-known figures. I think of Anthony Bourdain. I think of Philip Seymour Hoffman. Those are the two that come to mind right away. People who materially have everything they need. They have fame and they have wealth, and arguably have amazing and enviable jobs. Anthony Bourdain got to travel the world,
Right.
and taste like all the best foods. Anywhere he knew, people would recognize him and want to talk with him, spend time with him. And Philip Seymour Hoffman was a master of his craft. He's an actor that was in a ton of movies, and both killed themselves ultimately. So Philip Seymour Hoffman, probably an accident, but he was addicted to opiates. And then Anthony Bourdain hung himself in this beautiful hotel room, I think in Paris, like hotel rooms that most people would dream about staying in. So I think it's pretty clear that the material aspect can't be the dominant one. They can't be the one most responsible for happiness because of like situations like this. And the article at the end talks about I think a Chinese king or a Tibetan king who wanted to know who was the richest person in all of China, and the answer was Milarepa, who was a yogi that basically had no belongings and is legendary in Buddhism. There are all sorts of amazing stories. I think when we're sincere and we are open to seeing our faults and correcting our faults, and we recognize that others suffer like us, and we begin to see like a unity and a oneness of all things, and our intention is right, there are forces that act which we connect in with, and which take care of us in a way. Not take care of us in a way that we're necessarily going to achieve all of our materialistic desires, but take care of us in a way of where like we will have what we need. And then suffering is kind of in that the deficit between what we want and what we need, or what we want and what we have. So this acknowledgement that our wanting is misleading, that our idea that like I want this and that's going to lead to happiness is misleading, because there are all sorts of problems with achieving what we want and getting what we want. There's so many opportunities for unhappiness. But in the moments where we stop and we like, instead of leaning forward in the future or regretting stuff about the past, if we acknowledge what is and we can get out of our thinking and our story, well, like in meditation, at the end of meditation, there's peacefulness, and there's contentment and calmness. And if we can be vigilant with our minds to regularly cultivate that, to weed out this kind of default notion that we have to get somewhere that we're not already in order to be happy, then there's a much greater opportunity. There's happiness there just in our being. And for anyone who's traveled and gone to villages where they're very poor, I mean, you'll see the children being extremely happy, playing outside together. It's like a well-known thing that people remark on all of the time. Granted, some of the parents might not be happy because they may be stressed by issues of like difficulties getting food and all of that. So pragmatically, security is important. Ultimately, I think the security that's like pragmatically important, it's not ultimate security, because we're still subject to death, we're still subject to sickness. So a sort of transcendent happiness that meets whatever is present with awareness, this awareness that whatever content is present that we are aware of, the awareness is unaltered. It's untouched by circumstances. And the nature of it is liberating. There are stories of people who have been in like being tortured. They're like the worst case situation. And when their mind is appropriately oriented, some of those people, they experience transcendence, where they cease to really suffer over the torture, and they're present for it, they experience it, but there's a lack of like the identification dissolves. You know, so there's even in difficult situations, there's an opportunity for happiness, but it's obviously like, you know, until someone is in that situation and walks that path, I think it's very hard to talk about or tell someone else they should be happy in that situation. I think our role in that is always to listen to them, to understand and provide assistance. And as they're able to, and as there's openings, to provide the Dharma that matches what can help them and serve them, as opposed to just make them be like, hey, yeah, I don't have any food and you're telling me I should be happy with what I have. It's a subtle thing. It's something we can realize, but then as we go to apply it, we have to be adaptable and compassionate and understanding in the way that we share it with people who are dealing with more difficult situations than we are.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, let's let me review one more times about the articles. So again, according to the authors, and this is a Buddhist idea too, the three types of feeling: the happy feeling, the painful feeling, and the neutral feeling. So the choices, that's your name, right? Choice. A feeling is similar to happiness, something that all boys want to have, but somehow in the course of seeking happiness for ourselves, we bring the harm to others, right? Like people go out to steal other people's properties, right? So they bring their happiness, but they harm others. So in the end, they end up in jail, or problem come because they don't understand, they don't know how to get the real source of happiness. The second type is the painful feeling, of course, is the opposite one with the happiness, as everyone wants to stay away. And the neutral feeling depends upon how we interact with other people or our circumstances. Sometimes it's come into pain and happiness depend. But in Buddhist practice meditation, if we want to maintain the peacefulness, we need to stay in that type of neutral route, the neutral feeling. So let me go quickly about this. And he suggests that even the government cannot deliver happiness to the whole nation by enrich economic developments. If everyone is wealthy, but still, if they could not handle their state of mind, it may be a disaster for them too. So they need to develop the environment for the people as well as the citizen to recognize that yes, in the basic, as much they fulfill the basic need of having food on the table, having the shelters, the house, clothes, so forth, and they may find more balance in their mentality. So the next one here, and he mentioned about the karma. The karma, that's the farmer can be happy when they have good harvest and help other people or get enough money to support their families. And business people can contribute to That's what they call gross national happiness by making profit and invest wisely. And all the spiritual practitioners contribute by to some kind of realization to help us counsel other people. Mm. And mm, so he mentioned that if somehow we want to speed up right economic growth, right, let's say the US had the GDP around up this year, right? They say about 6%, right? More than 6%, and that's pretty rare for the last 20 years because mm, of the stability of the economies. But still, he mentioned that according to authors, while we drive the car, we need to have some brake. If we don't have the brake, we cannot control the speed of the car. It may hit somewhere else. That's what he's talk about. So we have to work both way, quick way and slow way to have in the neutral way. I mean that have to have some kind of controlling. So he mentioned about some obstacle, the outer, that's mean the famines and the war, the inner, that relate to disease and fear of death. So when we overcome those obstacles, we can achieve the happiness. But the secret or the inner obstacle is our greed, hatred, and ignorance. That's the basis on the Buddha teaching. That's why he mentioned about the Four Noble Truths here. So he mentioned about the Buddha mentioned that if you want to be happy, just recognize the suffering and overcome it with the practice of meditation. That's why many people they use meditation to transform that type of stress, anxiety, depression, and so forth. And they in this article he mentioned that we need to develop the course and condition to develop that type of happiness. So he proposed here. Here's this proposal: attitude of not harming other people, attitude of helping other people, contentment is very important. It's opposites with craving. So that's what he's proposed. And on other one, the outer, this inner happiness, the outer happiness, he proposed education, good governance, cultural promotion, economic development, environmental preservation. So I think this whole article, he proposed this type of inner and outer condition to get that type of happiness. So that's why later on he lists out all the things like the content, how not to harm other people, how to help other people, how to be content. So Vivian, you understand this, Vivian? You follow why he focused, why he mentioned on contentment. Why is that? Contentment is one of the inner condition to gain the happiness for ourselves. Why is that? Vivian.
Wait, let me go look at the article again. Because I did not get that part.
Yeah, go ahead. Okay, how about you, Khoa? Are you there, Khoa? All right. Okay, Thân Thiện, what do you think? What he mentioned about contentment to have the inner happiness as one of the inner condition. Why is that, Thân Thiện?
More for Thai. Contentment is important that that you need to practice to think that enough is enough and you don't need to go after what you desire, what you're craving. and you have to let go of that, and you save of what you have, and you should practice giving to other people, and you have to know that enough is enough.
Okay. So this is be obvious, right? Not to harm other people, right? Not and to help other people and be contentment according to him, according to the authors. He said that doesn't mean that we give up everything and be denial for basic needs of survival. Because it means that whichever thing we have, we just satisfy. So in the West, what do you think? Especially for for business people, is it impossible for them to have contentment? What do you think? What do you think? Is it impossible for them to have contentment? For business people, what do you think?
From my experience, business people are never.
What's that?
Business people, from my experience, are never content.
That's the point.
They're constantly striving for more and more wealth, and it consumes their life a lot of times.
What do you think?
I'd rather not comment. I'm just taking it all in. I don't
What do you
really
think?
want to
I
comment.
agree, 100%.
Okay, so so how about Dr. William? What do you think about the teacher, professor? Do you think it's easy for us to be content, or sometimes we do have some problem with that? I'm sorry. Can you turn on the mic, please?
I think that in the culture that surrounds us, that it almost doesn't matter what job that you're in, what career that you're in. Discontent is all over the place. I think that almost all of American culture is fueled by discontent. I think it's very hard for Americans to feel contentment. From the people that I know, it's something that you actively have to seek, and that's funny, because if you're actively having to seek it, it means that you continue to be discontent.
So how about William, in your healthcare profession, do you think it's easy or that a challenge to have that kind of contentment?
My job's a little bit different than most docs. So most docs are inside of like larger systems, and they accept insurance. Yeah. And there are plenty of reasons for them to be discontented. So you go into medical school thinking that you're going to be like really taking care of people, having plenty of time to connect with your patients. And what most doctors find, like primary care ones, is they spend 75% of their time writing notes. And nobody enjoys that. That's not why they went into medicine, to write notes. And the systems are complex and kind of stressful, because it's not writing a note based on how we feel we should write a note. It's based on how we've been trained, and then the system that we're within, in order to avoid like being sued. So I think it's a very fine line to walk to be content during the day, and really requires continual mindfulness and non-striving, to the extent of that letting go of any resistance to what the responsibilities of the job are, because I just don't think it's what people think that it's going to be like when they go into it for the majority of doctors.
Yeah. About An, what do you think in their business, in corporation, is challenging to be content, right?
Yeah, I listened to it, and I'm reflecting this whole contentment. I work for a pharmaceutical company here in Minneapolis. It's a Fortune 500, and every day, I mean, there's a moment where, similar to what Professor mentioned earlier, it's like a culture of what we call, if you hear about Six Sigma from Japan, that Six Sigma to optimize your variable. Every time you find like something that is deviate from the norm, you're trying to improve every day. If you say you're content, that's when you're not improving. That's the cultural of the corporate America. If you're content, that's when you're not improving. You're not doing your job. Improve your job. Improve your processes, and so on and so forth. So it's very, very difficult to me anyway. Maybe I'm older now, so I'm accepting. Hey, that's okay. I try my best to do the best I can. There's always things to improve. I don't. Maybe I should put it this way. As I learn more about Buddhism, it's okay if people tell me that I'm not there yet. And I'm okay. As long as I'm accepting it. And I just view it as a game, a corporate American game. And I accept what they do as the way how corporate America, if you want to go with that route, that's fine. But then you will feel very discontent. And you feel sad, you feel upset, and you feel like you're not accomplish what you want to be accomplished. And therefore you might get promoted. As long as I feel comfortable that I'm okay. I'm okay with what I have. I'm okay with what I have accomplished. I'm okay with all that. Then this whole cycle of trying to achieve something, overachieve, to do something better than another person, the more competitiveness, and kind of slowly it's there. I know it, but I don't care anymore. I don't fight with it anymore. So I feel more at ease with it. So it's difficult. It's very difficult for a younger, worker that come out of college and achieve a lot, and then we go to corporate America and learn about Buddhism. Tell them, hey, be content. And it's a two different world that we will be in. So it's very difficult to internalize Buddhism in the corporate America. I have to turn it on and off. Sometimes I told some of my friends that I have to turn it on and off. If I really practice Buddhism, how would I play myself in the corporate America? So that's still something that I'm thinking about it. So I'm looking forward to everybody's perspective as well.
Phillips, what do you think? You work in pharmacy, right? All right, so you.
I really like what you said on. I definitely relate because I feel like if you are content or the leader management tells you you're content, then you're kind of getting taken advantage of. If you're not like fighting for yourself or fighting to improve your conditions. So it gets a little complicated because sometimes I don't know how to apply it. Like, I don't know, you just hear like the Amazon workers who are trying to unionize, but they obviously are not content and they're trying to improve the situation for them and for everyone. So I almost see like, oh, what if you see it like an act of compassion? Like, oh, I'm not content, but I think I would improve something in an act of compassion for everyone else. So that's where I get a little confused.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think? As a teacher, is it easy to be content or have to improve every day? Or what's the difference between improvement and being content? What do you think? Any difference?
I think you can be content in the process.
Yeah. In different mindset, right? We can improve so that we can bring the happiness to others. Whoever in the business world, in school, or in hospital, or whatever, our purpose is to help other people to attain or to get some sort of happiness. That's different from, oh, I want to improve so that I can get something else from other people. So that's different mindset. And then that's why he mentioned that no harm in helping others and be content. So I think the three will go hand in hand. This is his proposal, but I think it's more reasonable. But the thing I don't agree with him is that he said that we start with spiritual realm first, spiritual needs first. I think it's not the religious way of life, right? You need to have physical need. You need to fulfill physical need first, people need food on the table every day. If they're hungry, they cannot meditate.
I've heard it's different in other countries though, where like that's not a possibility. Like there'll be very spiritual people that are starving.
What's that?
I've heard that it's like different. So like if you know your needs aren't going to get met, like there's cultures where they're all very spiritual individuals, even though none of their needs are getting met. But like if you're in the United States or a developed country, then it's going to be different, where you have to have those basic needs getting met before you can become spiritual. But I've heard it's kind of reversed.
Yeah.
In
But
other
in
places.
general, but I think it's not only in the West, everywhere. Right, as humans, we need to have something to survive, right? We have need basic needs, right? The food, the drink, the clothes, the shelter, and so forth. That's what you say.
It seems that makes sense here, but like I said, I've heard in other places like people can have nothing and they're just like, but they can still be very like that's all they have is their spirituality because they have nothing else.
Yeah, but like William just mentioned, right? He said. This is the children they play on the street, they happily, but the parents may be stressed out. Don't know whether they can bring the food on the table for the children. So I think this is more reasonable, logical to have some basic needs first, and after that we can fulfill to have that kind of contentment in our mind, especially when we can transform. We can have ability. Techniques to transform our stress, anxiety, and so forth. Yeah, I feel so sad for my students. Some of them, they in their writing, they say they lost their internship chance, they lost their jobs, and they don't know their future. But of course, for other people, they lost their job too, especially for the young people. The reason why they go to school because they want to get the good job, but they don't know how to take care of their mind. That's why they stress out. That's why they're depressed. That's why they figure out they don't know what's happening in future. Yeah. So anyway, so what do you think about this article? It's good. You like this kind of? What do you think, Dr. William? You like this kind of reading first? To have discussion, you like this?
Yes, I next time I'd like to check my email a little earlier because I didn't see it until I came onto the Zoom conference.
Yeah. Probably we may send at least 1 or 2 days before our meeting is better, so we can.
Yeah, I'd like that.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Would you like to stay back? I'd like to talk with you a little bit, William.
Me?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So thank you then. All right. So Vivian, so we can do it. So thank you. So see you then. Thank you, Phillips. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Well, but I
Bye.